This is me in 2005, just turned 14, riding my 2005 YZ250F. And this is also me in 2024, about a lot of pounds fatter than I was then. Still a mediocre dirt bike rider, but riding that same 2005 YZ250F. Now, both of us had different journeys to get to this place. So I'm going to talk a little bit about that. And to start, I'm going to head back to 05 when I'm riding this thing. See, I grew up riding in North Texas, or really all of Texas, in this era. And anyone who was around for that remembers the talent that came out of here during that time. And to be honest, I was always more of just a fan of the kids I was racing than I was actually competitive with most of them. There was kids like Matt Lemoyne, the Whartons, Trey Kennard would be down here. Those kind of people, Hackley, Will Hahn, Tommy Hahn. I was just always kind of in awe of all those dudes when I was racing. I got kind of a late start, so I was a goon for most of my time, which is okay. If you're not that great at riding, it's fine. I was there most of my time racing. So anyways, yeah, that's kind of how I was. I was in the same circles as a lot of those dudes, but not on par with them skill-wise or, with the mental game or any of that. That being said, my parents were super cool when I was growing up, and my dad really tried to give me everything I needed. For the most part, we weren't homeschooled and like fully entrenched in it, which if you're a late bloomer, I feel like maybe what you kind of need. But he definitely did everything he could to help me get there. So I did a lot of schools with Shannon Niday. That's where I met a lot of those people, and I was around a lot of fast people. And for 1 year, we really pushed it. A lot of my time, I was almost kind of a weekend warrior. But 1 year, we really pushed it, and it was the year I got on big bikes. And another thing that was kind of cool about my era is I had these 250Fs when a lot of Team Green kids and other kids were still stuck on 125s. So I could bust out starts, which was an unfair advantage. But I do have some footage riding around some people who were a lot faster than me. But anyways, so this 1 year in 05, I had injuries before that, kind of like everybody else. But this 1 year, I stayed healthy and turned out to be kind of a decent rider. And we did the classic kind of sandbag just to make it to Lorettas and go in C class, which I was young. I was 13 when I qualified, just turned 14. So I did qualify. I only made it for one class because I crashed out in my other regional. But back then, the swing you would do was 2 weeks of Ponca City and then up to Lorettas. And so we did that. And my weekend Ponca started out really nice. We had a muddy track for my first moto, and I busted a hole shot and led every lap. And here's a picture of me and my pops at the finish. So at that point, we were going into it thinking, yeah, our kind of sandbagging is going to work out here. But everything kind of spiraled from there, as it goes sometimes. And I had a lot of crashes. I think I only ended up getting like 7th in that class at Ponca and didn't do too well. So it is what it is. This was my only time really racing nationals like that. So to me, the memories are much more important than clearly the results, because they weren't that great. So it was really cool getting to do that with my dad. And from there, we headed to Tennessee for Loretta's, as many people just did. So we got up to the ranch, and my first practice was mixed with the schoolboy kids, which were a lot faster than our C-class guys. And I hopped in behind some of them, and there used to be a section after the finish where you kind of went over a roller and then stepped off into this like kind of steep rhythm section. And I followed one of them off that thing, and I was a little bitty on this thing. I just wasn't very strong. And I kind of clipped going in to that rhythm and just like front flipped, landed right on my tailbone, and had a really bruised tailbone the whole week. So that started my week off pretty terrible. And things did not go that well from there. My first moto, I got taken out on the start, passed back up, taken out again. I did not know, and I just, like I said, I didn't have the mental thing. I didn't realize you got points just for finishing, so I just rode off because I was like 2 laps down. And then I had the good old Loretta lens blow up with my pops, and he was completely in the right because I was a weenie and did the wrong thing. So, yeah, we had the good old Loretta's fight there. But the week got better from there. I got 7th in the next moto, and the moto after that, I ran 3rd the whole time and got passed on the last lap for 4th, which is a bummer. But for me at the time, like I said, I was never that great of a rider. I was pretty happy with those rides. Even though we did go there kind of thinking that we were going to do better than that. So yeah, even though those rides were not great and not what we went there expecting to do, I was pretty happy at least I put in a couple good motos and rode kind of how I should have ridden. There was no way I was ever going to win. Oscar Diaz ended up winning that year in the C class, who was a way better rider than me in every way. RIP to him. Very sad story. Anyways, that's how Lorettas went for me. I don't think anyone probably really cares that much, but that's my story of my 1 year really riding dirt bikes a lot. And kind of what I take out of it now, 20 years later, is for one thing, after working on metal roofs for 20 years, well, 12 years, I really should have tried harder at everything I did as a kid. So remember that, kids. But also, most of the people racing all these races are probably like me. And if you don't do that well, it's not the end of the world. It's not that big of a deal. Life goes on. Cherish the times you had with your parents there. And parents, don't be too hard on your kids, because one day you're going to look back on it and wish you just soaked it all in and enjoyed it. So that's kind of my takeaway from all that. But the whole point of this video is actually this. So when I made it to Loretta's, I made it in stock class, and we had a stock race bike that I barely rode that year. My practice bike was torched. My stock race bike was super clean. And after Loretta's, like I said, I knew I was never that great. And a bunch of my friends got really hurt. There was a lot of bad stuff going on, kind of like what's been going on right now. And since I knew I was never really going to make it, my dad was super over it and burnt out on it. That was the last year of me racing. We sold all the bikes. So in 2005, maybe beginning of 2006, this bike was gone and didn't see it forever. And I always loved moto. It was always my favorite thing. I still followed it heavily. I just did some other stuff. I got really into wake skating and went to college and just kind of got out of it for a while, but still followed it super closely. If I was a trust fund baby or something like that, won the lottery, even to this day, I would ride a dirt bike every day and try to chase a dream, but that's not real life for me, so that's just not how it worked out. So anyways, sold this bike in 2005, and one day in 2023, I believe, I was doing as a lot of us do and just looking around on Facebook Marketplace, and I saw a bike that caught my eye, and I thought, no way. And it was my race bike, my stock bike from Loretta's. It still had the graphics that say 2005 Loretta lens, like my name on it and stuff, almost 20 years later. Unfortunately, when I found it, it was during the time of COVID, so used bikes were going for a lot of money, but I could not pass up the chance to buy it back. So I actually was out of town, but I sent one of my buddies to scoop it up and got the bike back. Looked like some cool people he bought it from. He had some beers with them, sent me some pictures. So anyways, I was ecstatic to get this thing back. When I got it back, it looked like it had been maybe sitting out for a while, maybe not really ridden that much, but it needed a lot of love. So I've actually dumped a lot of money into this thing since then. I could have had like probably a year-old new bike for the amount of money I've put into this thing. But like I said, this thing is just kind of a keepsake for me, and I'll always hang on to it. So pretty stoked to get this thing back. When I ended up actually getting the bike back, it just happened to fall at a time where I had just sold my modern bikes and didn't really have a bike to ride. So I actually bought this thing just planning on kind of hanging it on the wall almost, and just kind of hanging on to it to hang on to it. But I didn't have anything to ride. So I ended up sending it to my buddy Sam, who does Sam's Speed Shop. He's kind of the only mechanic I really trust to do my stuff. And he went through it, rebuilt the suspension front and back. Actually, we didn't have to do a whole lot to it at first. I mean, I did kind of dump a lot of money into it because it needed the expendable stuff: tires, brake pads, suspension rebuilt front and back. I think we threw a clutch in it. And then I actually ended up for pretty much a whole year just riding it like that. It's pretty funny the looks I would get rolling up to a track. with that bike because I had to put a new tank on it because the old shrouds were like stuck on the tank that had holes in it. So I ran it no graphics, just 20-year-old beater. Um, and even though I'm not that fast, I'm definitely not the slowest dude at the track. So it would be kind of funny the difference in the looks I would get when I would show up to when I would leave. But I actually ended up motoing down on this thing for a year, or close to a year. And it doesn't have an hour meter, but I would say I probably put 20 or 30 hours on it, which is a lot for me. That was actually the most I've ridden in a year and probably the last decade. And I was very surprised at how much fun this thing is, actually. Once you get the carb jetted right and all that, this thing is actually a blast and handles way better than I remember. Like the suspension is good. And it actually just kind of rips. I raced 2 off-road races on it, an enduro and a TCCRA, which is like our local cross-country series. And I actually rode it super well for me. I'm probably 100 pounds too heavy for this thing, and I have to ride it like it's a 125. And I did all that on the stock top end on this thing and never had an issue, which is just pretty insane. So anyways, rode it for a year, did some races on it, had a blast on it. And then eventually I got another modern bike, and I finally decided to tear this thing down and really get into it. And I guess we didn't do that much. I really just kind of made it look cool, but sent it back to Sam. He actually did the top end on it, so got a new piston in there. The old one honestly didn't even look that bad, which is pretty insane. So got the thing running tip top. He rebuilt the suspension again because I had a lot of hours on it. And yeah, just got it running great. And then I found this old power bomb on eBay and this muffler, this old FMF muffler. I had to buy them separately. It's not super easy to find that old stuff, but they were both super rusty, and I just put some elbow grease into them. I think they look pretty dang good now, and got those thrown together. This thing barks. It's crazy how loud the old carbureted bikes are. Kind of forgot, especially with this exhaust. It is super loud. But anyways, got that done. These graphics I designed. Everyone always asks me how I do the graphics when I do bike builds, so I will tell you right now. I draw these up on Procreate, which is an app for your iPad or whatever, and then I just use a online sticker place and make sure you get heavy duty stickers, and they're just moto stickers is all they are. And then I cut them out myself and throw them on here. So everyone always wants to know how I do it, and to be honest, I do it for fun because I enjoy designing them, and it's really not any cheaper. I would say use your local graphics people. It's going to be a lot easier. But if you want to know how I did it, that's how I did it. And I can't take really full credit for these graphics. Team Solitaire, I think, did a very similar kit to this a couple years ago for a retro day, and I kind of took it and put my own spin on it. And so it's kind of got these funky numbers. I'm weird. I like weird stuff. But one of these days, I will put the original graphics back on it and hang this thing on the wall just like I originally intended and make it look like my Loretta's bike did back in the day. I still put the little Loretta's tag on it. But yeah, for now, I kind of wanted to try to do a funky, weird graphics kit. So that's what I did. And I'm pretty stoked with it. So I guess I rambled on enough. Oh yeah, I got to thank Dwayne Carter. He wrote these things back in the day and had a little stash of brake caps. So appreciate that, dude. And he just raced Lorettas. So congrats on that. I was watching you and all the motos. I guess I rambled on a lot in this video about a whole bunch of nothing, but I guess the moral of this video is enjoy your time with your parents and your kids racing, because 20 years later, those results really aren't going to matter unless you're the 1% of the 1% that goes and makes money and has a career out of it, which I do know some of those dudes that did that, which is awesome. But if you're just a normal guy like me, try your best, have fun, and maybe you'll find your old Loretta's bike 20 years later, and you can do some motos on it when you're a chubby middle-aged dad. So anyways, if you made it this far, thank you. I hope everyone had a good Loretta's. Congrats for going. And if you didn't make it, that's cool. I missed it a lot, and I know a lot of other people that did too. So See you later.